Good afternoon and welcome to Ralph Reserve, the home of the Western Suburbs Football Club for the semi-final stage of the African Nations Cup, and it is a big clash in the penultimate round. Liberia coming up against South Sudan, two heavyweights in this competition who have made it to the final stage in previous editions of the tournament but have never quite tasted the ultimate success, something that they will be hoping to rectify in this year's edition of the tournament with a win today. There's some big name players in Victorian football amongst both sides, and they are all in readiness. It's Lockie Flanagan to take you through the game for Football Empowerment and for FNR Football Nation Radio. A warm welcome to you wherever you may be watching from, and you're looking on live pictures of a sunshiny day here at the African Nations Cup, and it is Liberia who get us underway wearing a beautiful red and white striped strip they've got. New edition this year. South Sudan were one of the finalists in the previous installment of this tournament. It wasn't their day though, and they will be trying to make amends in this edition of the competition. It was a 4-1 loss to Kenya on the day, a game that eventually fell away from them, and that is a wrong that they are hoping to right this time around. As for Liberia, they made it all the way to the final stage back in 2021 at Keilor Park, where they lost in somewhat controversial circumstances via a penalty against Eritrea, who are one of the perennial powerhouses of this comp, and ready to play in the second semi-final later today. It's Melvin Beckett trying to break the lines with a pass there. Liberia having the early betterment of the play at the present moment. It's Belena who's upended down in the corner at Ralph Reserve. And gives away a free kick. Healthy crowd, and you can hear it through the effects mic. The amount of people who have turned up. It's been a 3-week process in the African Nations Cup, getting through the group stage, and now we've had the men's semi-finals currently before your very eyes, before the big one tomorrow. The men's and women's finals here at Ralph Reserve, kicking off at 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. respectively. And if you think the crowd sounds good today, just wait until tomorrow. One of these sides will be there on Sunday. We've got a long time still to find out who it'll be. At the moment though, it's Liberia with a lot of the promising early play. Melvin Beckett, a well-known player amongst NPL Victoria circles. That was his throw. On the turn was Nio. He's found a pocket of space, and it's a wayward cross in the end. Nothing of great consequence for Liberia. South Sudan playing their way into trouble. Not punished for it, but South Sudan, there are a number of star-studded names in amongst this squad, including Chudia Tajiath, Santo Agwek, Manny Agwek. A lot of high-quality players. Apaya Kuno as well, one to potentially watch out for. We'll be hoping to get on the end of this goal kick, which is sent forward by Santo Agwek. Melvin Beckett adjusting and controlling, but not quite flicking it to his teammates' advantage. And Babor Sam able to win back possession. It's a beautiful thread through the lines, but cut out well on that occasion, right in the nick of time by Mabior Deng. Liberia on the breakaway here. Santo Egwak chesting and controlling, and cutting a commanding figure in that South Sudan penalty box, but not a convincing clearance, and that ball might well be lost to the gods. Get your comments in as well. We are live and interactive across the Football Empowerment and Football Nation Radio social channels. Let us know where you're watching from, who you want to win today. And again, South Sudan with some promising play on the wings. Evading the challenge. Chol sending it inside for Babor Sam, who has his pocket picked by Melvin Beckett. No doubt those two players have faced off in the Victorian NPL at some point. Babor Sam, a former Whittlesea man. Melvin Beckett of South Melbourne and Green Gully fame, currently playing his trade not far from here for Westgate Sindelich. State one side next year. Loses out that time, does Beckett, but he will get the free kick. Akilo Demo, towering defensive midfielder. Looking to play it quickly, Liberia towards the wings, but out and away from danger. Santo Egwak getting to take the goal kick. He made some incredible headlines in South Sudan's semi-final showing last year, scoring, I'm pretty sure, from inside his own penalty box. Yes, that's right, the goalkeeper scoring in that semi-final, which of course South Sudan went on to win. Apaya Kuno contesting for the ball. And Liberia able to sort things out at the back, and it's Hanks Guillermo in the sticks. Slightly undersized in goalkeeping terms, but high quality distribution, and that's allowed Liberia a break on this right-hand side. Although it's a careless pass, and Babor Sam quick to seize upon it, showing some skills. Fresh air for Melvin Beckett. And there's a lot of appreciative fans in the stands for that solo effort from Babor Sam, although it's come at some personal cost for the attacking midfielder, who is a big part of South Sudan's plans. And the referee quick to call medical treatment onto the field. Hopefully this isn't anything too serious for the South Sudan attacker. Players making a pretty big sacrifice in their off seasons to play this tournament here in the western suburbs, doing games back to back right around the time that NPL pre-seasons around the state and indeed around the country start up. Challenging conditions for players in the off season. It's 27 degrees, the top temperature today at Ralph Reserve. Doesn't sound too great, but it's only so easy to play. Babor Sam remains on the turf. And the signs aren't good for the star South Sudan attacker. South Sudan, of course, qualified for this semi-final stage, getting the better of Burundi last Sunday. While Liberia managed to knock out Ghana in the quarterfinals. Interestingly, last year's winners, Kenya, nowhere to be seen at that stage of the comp. And that will be sweet relief for South Sudan, given how much of a trouble they had against them in the final, which was earlier this year in 2022 at this very venue. As we see poor Sam being assisted onto the stretcher, and not at all what you like to see, or indeed what South Sudan will like to see. They haven't had too much of the ball in the early showings, but when they have, he's often been central to a lot of the good play, and that is an early blow for South Sudan, a team for whom in this competition, star-studded though they are, things have a habit of going wrong, whether it's an unfortunate injury or a problem of their own creation. They have many a time in the African Nations Cup been the fancy side, never quite been able to lift the ultimate honour. Back underway here, and South Sudan have made a substitution as they float this free kick into the air. It's miscued initially by Hanks Guillermo. In the end, able to collect. Keeper who plies his trade, or did ply his trade at North Sunshine Eagles, and also more recently Whittlesea this year, of real talent for anyone who's had the joy of watching him, as Beckett digs that one out. It's one for the attackers to chase, but Santo Agwek is not a keeper who you want to get into a physical altercation with necessarily. You've really got keepers on opposite ends of the spectrum here at Ralph Reserve. We're about 15 minutes gone. If you've just joined us, and if you are in the area and are thinking about heading down, you can hear the scenes on your effects mic. You can see the crowd filtering through in the background. We have, of course, got the other semi-final coming up later today between Eritrea and the Democratic Republic of Congo from 5 p.m. Eritrea, one of the big teams in this tournament, having taken it out more times than any other nation. These two hoping they can make it happen for the first time, as charging forward was Neo, latching onto it, a task just too big on this occasion. It's a very quick pitch, but in pretty good condition. Just eyeballing it. Smooth surface, and it should hopefully lead to some brilliant football, as there usually is at the African Nations Cup, and has been in the lead up to this semi-final stage. Here's a ball for Akuno to contest. Down nicely by Yachbol, who looks to have been the player that's come on in place of the injured Babor Sam. And now South Sudan find themselves on the break. It's Riel Mayom who fires in a cross, but away at the first time of asking by the Liberian defence. South Sudan hoping that they can ride the blow of that injury and click into gear. Certainly, though, Yachbol, one to watch out for. The big number 2 at the base of this South Sudan midfield. His introduction means that Akila Demo has just pushed up ever so slightly into more of an 8 role. Partnered in midfield as well by Manny Agwek. And you talk about players to watch out for. Manny Agwek stands head and shoulders above the vast majority bunch of goals for an Avondale side who made a decent run in the Australia Cup, played against A-League opposition, took the Brisbane Roar to penalties. He ended up with 7 for the season in the state NPL, a handful of assists in the Cup comp too. So certainly a player who will be a handful for this Liberian defence, especially considering he's playing in more of an advanced midfield role. And we can see him drop in alongside Apaya Kuno for the moment. And there he is. It's a beautiful back heel. And South Sudan can't quite complete the move on the opposite end. And certainly Chol liked the idea. Liked what his midfield teammates were putting together. Messrs Demo and Agwek combining. Here is Akilo Demo on the ball. Launched forward by Dennis Njiku, but it's coming back the other way. And Njiku's coughed it up on that left-hand side. A break available, squared in, and Agwek spills initially. Is able to atone for his own error and sends South Sudan on their way. It's due number 3, Dayu carrying the ball forwards. A very distinctive white headband. South Sudan have certainly settled into this game though, starting to take more control of the proceedings, but control has often not been their problem. They can dominate the ball, but often getting rope-a-doped on the counter-attack has been something they've had to watch out for, and certainly this Liberia side shown their threats in the wide areas. Throw into the path of Akuno. He gets the flick on down for Agwek, but it's a swing and a miss from the South Sudan attacker. That's the link up they need, South Sudan, if they want to make this game theirs. And the height and the physicality of Akuno can combine with the speed, and usually, in that instance, notwithstanding the lethality of Manny Agwek, that's when they can do damage, and they may well get a chance here. Akuno down the right, cross deflecting, and a corner ball for South Sudan, who are really starting to turn the screw. So up march the tall timber for South Sudan, not least Yachbol, who we've spoken a fair bit about already today. The injury replacement for Babor Sam. It's going to be Dayu to deliver. Decent shape towards the far post, but it's over the head of all. Even Yachbol, who picks up the pieces, but has sold his teammate a little bit short. And forward come Liberia. It's a 3-on-2. South Sudan are scrambling to get back. It's good defensive work in the end from Akilo Demo, just to do enough to thwart Favor Jensen. He took a bit of a heavy touch. Beckett scrapping there with Chol. Akuno so close to getting the breakthrough. It was a perfect ball, but matched by the defensive effort. That Liberian back four. Thanks of George Weeder, who's just lost it in the air. It's an outstretched leg. Intercepted by Bol. Delivered into an area. Pumped away. Liberia having to batten down the hatches at the present moment. Here's Paulino, who sent that threatening cross into the area. Another one of the South Sudanese players who call the NPL their home in clubland. He spent last year with Springvale White Eagles, where he had been a teammate, I believe, of Hanks Guillermo. There is Paulino on the ball, but can't quite keep it under his spell. So about halfway through the opening half, we did of course have a lengthy delay for an injury to Babor Sam. But despite that injury, South Sudan haven't been knocked off their step. Speak of the devil, down goes Dayu. The challenge of the Liberian midfield. Beckett lining one up from distance. It's a sighter. But frankly, it's more than Liberia been able to manage to this point. He does have dynamite in those boots, Melbourne Beckett. Can shoot one from distance, but that perhaps wasn't his best. Still getting the eye in. Back on the ball, Favor Jensen. It's a well-weighted pass, but just offside. There's Belena. They've got that capacity for the link-up. It's been the case for both sides so far today. Been promising carrying the ball forward, but that final pass, the timing, the execution, it's just astray. Beckett. It's a looping ball in the path of Jensen. Dayu is going to be all too happy to mop balls like that up throughout the day. He's got the throw here. Launches it up the line. It's over the head of Agwe. Kakuno flicks into an area, but no one's home. Good contest in the middle between Akilo Demo and here's opposite number. Now Liberia through Canet. 17 against 17, and Paulino of South Sudan able to win that individual battle. Those wings have been the vulnerable area for South Sudan so far. So much riding on this game. Two teams who have been so close to African Nations Cup glory in seasons gone by. Never had the honour of lifting the trophy. Falling at the final hurdle. In the final hurdle. The best they've been able to muster. And that's why this game has so much consequence for both of them. Only one can start tomorrow with a shot at redemption. I need to find a go-ahead goal first. Liberia with the chance to do that from this corner, which is well placed towards the penalty spot, but no one able to make contact. It was Favor Jensen, who really has grown into this game as time's gone on, that was motioning for it, but never quite connecting. The cross was a little bit high in the end. Demo. Demo again. It's an attempted first-time pass, gone wrong. And now Liberia here through Jensen. It's a great save from Santo. Santo Agwek called into action for the first time today. and coming up big with the stop. An imposing presence, but what a relief that is for Akilo Demo, a player who started so well in the South Sudan midfield. It's a loose pass, and there it is again. He's lost out to Jensen. It's a battle, and it's one that the Liberian attacker is going to win. Not a 60 seconds that Akilo Demo will want to look back on. 2 errant passes, one giving away the first meaningful chance of the game, and the second presenting this free kick to Liberia. Red and white shirts are amassed on the edge of the penalty box, awaiting an inviting delivery. That's not quite it. Yachbol misses. It's still alive in the Liberian penalty box, but eventually away by Dutdeu. Crowd continuing to filter through here at Ralph Reserve. Grandstand pretty packed out, and it's going to be even more intense tomorrow for the men's and women's finals. 3 p.m. onwards as Santo Agwek picks that one up. Done his reputation no harm today. It's a no-look flick from Manny Agwek that's attempting to set Riel Mayom on his way. Testing a few moments in the last few minutes for South Sudan. Got a burst of adrenaline after that injury to Babor Sam, and now trying to retake control and potentially the lead on the scoreboard. Yachbol trying to hold up his direct marker in the form of Ibrahim Kane. Haven't seen too much of him so far, the Liberian number 17. It's a commanding header straight into the path of Akuno, flicked down perfectly for Manny Agwek. This is the breakaway that South Sudan need. How's the delivery? Not quite perfect, but Agwek will mop up the scraps at the back post. Agwek inside. This is great play. Dutdeu spins, collects the contact, and earns South Sudan a penalty. Referee with absolutely no hesitation. It was a wonderful, elegant turn in the middle from Dutdeu as South Sudan were building the pressure, and eventually as he pushed the ball away, that pressure told for the Liberian defence, and so South Sudan have the chance to take the lead in the semi-final. The question is, who gets the honour of taking the penalty? By Akuno. Well, captain's armband, he's got the arm aloft as well. I think it'd be his, but Yachbol is the player currently tucking the ball under his arm, and eventually he has admitted defeat and distributed this ball and this spot kick to Apai Akuno up against Hanks Guillermo. Well, now Akuno's given it away. It's a merry-go-round as to who's going to take this penalty. And finally, at the end of all of that, it'll be Manny Agwek against Guillermo for the lead in the semi. Up steps Agwek, and he puts it into the bottom left. South Sudan take the lead in the semi-final, and it's their star player who does the business. Celebrations in the corner. It's an all-in party as the side who so often are flattered to deceive in this competition draw first blood, but there is a long way to go. Fitting that the player who was so heavily involved in that breakaway that led to the penalty, won by Dutdeu, steps up to take. Coming off the back of a great season in the NPL Victoria for Avondale in the African Nations Cup. Manny Agwek is keeping the good times rolling. And South Sudan with the all-important go-ahead goal. It was a confident penalty as well. Strolled in. Didn't approach it with too much speed. Not much backlift. But nailed it emphatically. Melvin Beckett with a nice turn, but an errant pass at the base of midfield. It can happen to Melvin Beckett sometimes. He's a player who can make the difficult look very, very easy on his day. It's about following that through with the simple bits as well. South Sudan having taken the lead, now pressing their case for number 2. It's flicked over the top. Guillermo, a moment of hesitation as a half shot, half lob came through from Riel Mayom. He had it covered in the end, but there was a moment of anxiety across his face as here's Chol Chol driving towards the line. We haven't seen too much of him. He had a very bright start in the opening 5 minutes. His influence has waned a little bit. Beckett. Happy to take the free kick. Knew that it was on its way. Risky turn, but a good one from Kimo Tamba. Liberia, the onus on them now. Duganets, Belena gives away an infringement and an inopportune moment. The pieces are certainly there for Liberia. There's enough quality for them to overturn the deficit. It is, of course, a razor-thin deficit, the smallest possible. It doesn't take much, but you just get the sense that if they can get that final ball to click, they will find a route to the back of the net. Particularly with South Sudan's reputation sometimes for being their own worst enemy, and they nearly were again that time around. Pumped away by Yach Bol. One for Chol Chol to chase, but isn't going to make too much of a fist of that one. So Manuel Kamara on the ball. Now Kane picks up the free kick. And perhaps Ahisa Paulino just lucky that the referee's back was turned when he kicked that ball away. Avoids a yellow card. Jensen leaves that short. Agwek on the turn. A good battle with Beckett. It's the Liberian midfielder who wins out. But it's back the other way already. Agwek hesitating, trying to clip one to Akuno. This has been the case a couple of times today. It's an outstretched leg. It stops the pass from coming to fruition. It's a beautiful defence-splitting pass, but a bit too much on it for Kane to collect. Santo Agwek there in the nick of time. Paulino up the line for Chol Chol, who's swapped wings with Riel Mayom. Hoping to gain more of a personal foothold in this contest, but his team's certainly got a commanding foothold on the game. They lead 1-0 through a Manny Agwek penalty, if you missed that one. Seeking to double their advantage. Liberia, hoping to equalise. Beckett, the fans, they love those fast feet. He is such a joy to watch when he's in his stride. Even if he did turn the ball over, Agwek just about keeps that one in play, but only to the advantage of Liberia. Just to the left of the live pictures, Manny Agwek is still feeling the effects of that challenge. South Sudan are playing with 10, but they're streaming through. Here's the chance for Akuno. And just put too much meat behind it. That's a real shame. Akuno was breaking through. There was a bit of confusion because Manny Agwek was down in a heap on the broadcast side, calling for a substitution. Liberia were a bit slow to react. I mean, even South Sudan weren't quite sure if they should play on, but Akuno kept going. Wasn't able to take advantage. It would have been a real contrast of emotions if Akuno had scored while Manny Agwek was in a heap on the turf. And he asked for the sub with some level of immediacy. And so that would be two big stars lost inside the first half for this South Sudan side. Quite the hurdle. Haven't finalised a substitution as yet. Have South Sudan. Agwek still pacing on the touchline. Keep you updated on his condition as play continues. For the moment, South Sudan with 10. Agwek is just pouring some water on his foot, the one that collected a couple of studs. I'm not sure how much that helps, but you treat yourself however you need to, I guess. Good interception from Paulino. Chol riding the challenge of Emmanuel Kamara, but losing the ball in the process.
I reckon do that because it's not gonna. It's still gonna be the same thing.
South Sudan, a long throw, chested down by Akuno on the swivel. Apai Akuno. It was well wide, but off the boot. Some, including me, were hopeful that that was going to be one of the goals of the African Nations Cup. It was a lot wider in the end than it looked at first viewing. And Manny Agwek, a relieving sign for South Sudan. He is back on the pitch. And a good thing too, because when he and Apai Akuno have been combining, usually South Sudan have been at their best. Dayu, chested in an attempt to evade his defensive marker. It's good work from Neo, the number 18 for Liberia. Nothing comes of it. Akuno threading it through to Chol. He wants the 1-2. He's going to get it. Apai Akuno, it takes a deflection, and it's all the way in eventually. Yes, it is. South Sudan double their money. Well, it was Dennis Wanjiku who got the final touch, but the goal was created and all but finished by Apai Akuno, and that's why the celebrations are for him. South Sudan have 2 on the board and are in control of the semi-final. Came out of nowhere, really. It was just a simple 1-2 on the right-hand side between Chol and Apai Akuno. And the Melbourne City attacker, who will be playing top-flight NPL football this season. The minute he'd released that pass across the Chol, he was at full pace, full pelt to latch onto the 1-2. He did, and well, he put his effort at Hanks Guillermo, deflection. The save wasn't enough to divert it wide of goal. It was travelling
I'm cold.
towards the line, and
I've got covered.
whether or not it was over before Dennis Wanjiku was able to provide a telling touch, we're not sure. The only certainty is that South Sudan are 2-0 ahead right before the halftime interval. Captain Fantastic for South Sudan is making his influence felt. Beckett. They just want him on the ball and running with it as often as possible. And you can see why he's able to twist and turn and keep Apaya Kuno honest. And now he set Kana on his way. It's a physical battle with Dutdeu. In fact, it was Faber Jensen who went down, and referee Swift, in fact, in the end didn't whistle, which means it's a corner ball for Liberia with a handful of minutes to play in this opening 45. They've just gone 2-0 down. The goal now to give them belief heading into the sheds would be oh so important. The delivery it's a training ground move to Beckett, who couldn't quite extract the spectacular on the edge of the area. He's back on the ball here though, Melvin Beckett. Get the sense that if Liberia are to regain a foothold, it may well be at his feet. That's great covering work from Ibrahim Kane. The thwart Chol, but he's won the ball back. Chol doesn't have a lot in the way of support, but finds Yach Bol with a lovely turn in the middle. It's a 50-50 ball, and it's just about won by Liberia through Kimo Tamba. He was one member of the Liberian squad that did make the final against Eritrea in 2021.
I have no idea.
What about me? That's why I want to
It's recording. Kilo!
In the middle, Akilo Demo fouling his opposite marker, and the referee is just going to call Dutdeu in for a little bit of a talking to here. So we should have a little bit you'd expect of halftime stoppage. We've had a couple of big injuries and injury scares. Of course, Babor Sam was felled and forced to play no further part inside the opening 10 minutes, while Manny Agwek did go down in a heap on the broadcast side, but is back up and back on the ball, but maybe still feeling the effects as he takes a bit of a loose touch. Launched forward by Liberia. The attempted target was Faber Jensen. Sato Agwek with the ball at his feet, just goading the Liberian attack into making a challenge as applause rings out at Ralph Reserve. Chested down nicely by Agwek to Akuno, who's on the charge. Chol, heavy touch, but he wins it back. Bol, hasn't he provided some steel in the base of midfield? South Sudan continue to look easy on the eye in attack, but it's an important challenge from Ibrahim Kane to save the day. So you want his Chom Chol breaking down the right flank. this South Sudan long throw to defend. Again, Akuno's the target. Does get the flick on. Only as far as the edge of the box for an outstretched leg from Neo. Sees Liberia get some breathing room. It's going to be a continuing theme, just trying to get Akuno on the end of these long throws. Hasn't quite worked yet, but if and potentially when it does, the chance could lead to devastating consequences for the Liberian defence. And here's a chance for Agwek. No flag, Manny Agwek! Oh, now the flag comes up. The South Sudan celebrations cut short in controversial circumstances. Manny Agwek picked up a loose ball. He looked across to his shoulder at the linesman to see if the flag would come up. And only once the back of the net bulged did the linesman decide to call the play dead. And it's safe to say Manny Agwek has taken exception to the timing, and in fact, at the end of all of that, it's a free kick in favour of South Sudan. Well, I guess that makes the picture a bit more clearer. It wasn't the linesman's flag necessarily factoring in on the far side. It was the head referee who didn't signal advantage despite Manny Agwek's attempts to take it. So he didn't get his goal from open play. He has already scored one. Might fancy himself for a second. He does go direct. Manny Agwek with a stunner. South Sudan's man of the moment makes it 3 for the boys in green. And look at the celebration. That is what it means. And Manny Agwek today has been central to it in the opening 45. He got the party started with the penalty. And he's turned on the style with that free kick. Hanks Guillermo watched it through the air. He had a lot of time to see it, but even then, it was inch perfect. And the Liberian keeper had no response. Look at Manny Agwek blowing kisses to the linesman. He scored from open play. The referees tried to stop him, and he said, well, if you won't let me have that, I'll have to do this. And now South Sudan are well and truly in command. And that is halftime. It's a halftime upon which South Sudan have put the exclamation point right before the break. They've had to deal with their fair share of challenges. They conceded. It could have been so different. They had a massive injury for Babor Sam inside the opening 10 minutes. They were forced into a sub on came Yachbol, and you thought that that might be another sign of the South Sudan shakiness that can creep in at the African Nations Cup for them in this tournament. Coming in, they survived another scare, a big chance for Favor Jensen thwarted by Santo Agwek, and that save proved pivotal as moments later it was Dut Deu who won the penalty, dispatched by Manny Agwek for the opening goal. And that was an all-important settler for South Sudan, which allowed them to grab number 2 through a combination of Apai Akuno and Dennis Wanjiku, who thumped the ball over the line before Manny Agwek added another to his tally to put South Sudan in command at the halftime whistle of this semi-final. It is Liberia with it well and truly all to do as we head to the break here at halftime. It's South Sudan 3, Liberia 0.
10 at least.
Welcome back to Ralph Reserve for the second half of the first semi-final. Men's semi-final at the African Nations Cup, where if you're just joining us, it is South Sudan in control as we head into the second 45. 3-0 they lead over Liberia, currently huddled on the right-hand side of your screen and in need of a big, big effort if they are to get level and potentially more and give themselves a hope of booking a spot in the final. And at the present moment, it's South Sudan on course, courtesy to a brace from Manny Agwek. And a goal, I believe, from Dennis Wanjiku, set up principally by Apaya Kuno. And it is at his feet that the second half gets underway. Liberia, with a Herculean task ahead of them. Can they complete a miracle turnaround? That's the question we'll endeavour to answer in this second 45. And thanks for joining us. If you're at home, Ricky Flanagan taking you through the second half, as I was the first, for Football Empowerment and for FNR Football Nation Radio. South Sudan will just try and pick up where they left off. South Sudan side, they've had a composure that they haven't necessarily shown in previous showings of this tournament. They are looking the goods at the moment, and no doubt the DR Congo and Eritrean sides who have turned up for their semi-final at 5 p.m. have had one eye on this South Sudanese performance, but they do have a habit of being struck by misfortune, and Liberia will be hoping that that trend continues. Certainly shown enough signs. The team in red and white, they can create enough to at least score one, but they've got to score a lot more than that to give themselves a hope of a finals berth. And they've got to try and contain Manny Agwek, who has been a thorn in the side of the Liberian defence. It's a good win from Dut Dayu, another one who's been performing well for South Sudan today. So too Yach Bol, whose pass that time is a bit short. My apologies. Before Sam, the number 10 for Liberia, and it's Abraham Mathet, who was the number 10, who was injured for South Sudan in the opening 45. Apologies for that mix-up. Getting the two 10s switched around because Babor Sam is now on and ready to make his influence felt for Liberia. It is an uphill battle but they've got a free kick here. Early doors. It's Melvin Beckett who stands over the dead ball. A lot of movement in that Liberian penalty area. If they are going to get on the road, the comeback trail, it'll have to happen soon. It's a risky clearance, and on the turn, Liberia do have the ball in the back of the net. Massey Benjamin, the linesman, acutely spotting a handball in the lead-up. What a dream start to the second half that would have been for Liberia, but maybe, just maybe, disallowed goal gives them the hope of more. It was a good finish too 45 is the tunes at Ralph Reserve are now pumping. Someone is turned up and brought a speaker, contributing all of it to the vibe here at the African Nations Cup, which is always a good one. All of it pales in comparison to the scenes of colour, noise and atmosphere that will greet us in the men's and women's finals tomorrow. Same venue, 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. kickoffs. And as it presently stands, South Sudan will be one half of that men's final. You'd have to think that if they do find a fourth goal, that will just about guarantee it. Got a thought Liberia though. Launched forward into the path of Matthew Cisse. Cuts it back in the ball Sam direction. Chol looped over the top. Agwek knew he was offside, but it may still fall for Issa Paulino, but it's an important intervention from Massey Benjamin. Can only clear out, buy some time. The Liberian backline. Melvin Beckett covering off the aerial threat to Upaya Kuno. In fact, that was Melvin Beckett on the ball there. Joseph Sia. You got the headed clearance. And in the aftermath, was an opportunistic shot from Yachbol, which in the end is well wide. 40 minutes for Liberia to score 3. There is extra time in play. It wouldn't go straight to penalties. There was some talk that that would be the case, but no, it's going to be if Liberia can mount a big comeback. It'll be an extra 30 minutes in penalties. But a continuing trend of today, South Sudan players continuing to pick up injuries and knocks here, there and everywhere. Manny Agwek is back on the turf, but thankfully he's up to his feet and exchanging some nice words with Joseph Sia. So too Dennis Njiku, the scorer, I believe, of that second goal for South Sudan, just poking it over the line after Upaya Kuno had done so much of the hard work to create the chance. Just about finish it. Liberia trying to mount a press. They need goals and they need them quickly. And South Sudan dealing well with the pressure and breaking forward. Paulino. It was a nice touch at first glance. He showed just enough to Emmanuel Kamara, who made the interception. Beckett and Bowl going head to head. It's Yachbol who wins out. Time. Real Mayom can't quite bring it under his spell, but does enough to win a corner for South Sudan. Certainly a situation from which we know they pose a significant threat. They did score from a dead ball situation at this end in the previous final against Kenya, although it didn't quite end in the right way, but it's a decent delivery over all the heads in the box, but South Sudan will get a second bite at the cherry. Floated in once more and across the face of goal. No willing runners at the back post. The deliveries have been well shaped and threatening from South Sudan. Just got so many aerial threats for the Liberian defence to deal with. You're almost not sure who should we be giving the attention to. If you place too much emphasis on Yachbol, then you might leave a Kuno free. It's not an easy problem, and do make the finals, certainly not going to be an easy problem to deal with for either of Eritrea or DR Congo, the two sides who will contest the semi at 5 p.m. The second semi. It's a great pass for Chol Chol. Latched onto with ease, charging down. Akuno the lone target in the middle, but he gets the cross all wrong. And a counter break goes awry for the side who largely are in control and can probably afford a few missed opportunities here and there, but you only want to leave the door ajar for Liberia for so long. There is certainly enough time to score goals and quickly. If you are the trailing side, which I think is a point that the Liberian coach is attempting to make. Launched forward. And then Matthew Cisse direction, who's increasingly cutting a bit of a lone figure atop this Liberian front three. We have seen promising flashes, in particular from Favour Jensen, who's now on the left and is the lone hand at the back post. Beckett, nicely shaped. Cisse gets the diving header, and it bounces hard in mouth for a moment for Santo Egwek, but after the rebound off the turf, it was wide of the goals. But another promising sign for Liberia, that when they do get things right, they can potentially inflict some pain on the scoreboard. It was a well-judged ball in flight by Matthew Cisse to get the diving header timed perfectly, still generate power behind the ball. Unfortunately, the direction is just missing, but not by much. Kilo Demo in the middle, floats the ball, and there are some ironic jeers, but Chol Chol is able to latch onto it. He's triple teamed by the Liberian backline. It's back on with Demo. Akuno, fancy footwork, and it might still break here for Manny Agwek. Now the chance for Chol Chol! But it's not going to count. Again, South Sudan have a goal disallowed, much to their chagrin. Earlier, it was Agwek who wasn't given the advantage. And this time again, he's in the thick of the action. I think he was the player offside right before Chol Chol stroked that ball home for what would have been 4, but Liberia remain alive. The ball Sam towards the touchline, cutting it square, but no one was there to poke home. Ibrahim Kane was closest to the scene of the crime, but just wide, just an inch away from delivering a telling touch, and one that would potentially have set Liberia on their way for a comeback, but certainly they are growing in attacking prowess, and this game is opening up. South Sudan got a stranglehold on the scoreboard, but it still feels like there are plenty more twists and turns to come in this first men's semi-final, including a potential injury scare for Liberia. Player on the turf, right on the edge of their penalty area, and it's in fact Massey Benjamin. Player who did have that apologies. There are a couple of 4s on this team sheet, but it's George Weeder, who was the player who had that earlier chance as a defender, and now looks like his day is going to come to an end. Helped off the field his Liberian teammates, and just as they were building some serious promise, Liberia, this defensive injury might just deal a bit of a blow. So a couple of changes rung for Liberia, not just injury enforced, but also a couple of tactical ones too. I saw Ibrahim Kane come off the field of play. So Liberia opting for fresh cavalry as they hope to chase down this goal margin. I think it's Samuel Che who's replaced the outgoing George Weeder. One's out of play. Favor Jensen. Ball in the hands of Joseph Sia. Great use of the body from Babor Sam, but double coverage from the South Sudanese defence. Only so easy to deal with. That one asking a little bit too much. Joseph Sia. Matthew Cisse, I should say. And after all that, must have taken a little touch on the way through, as much to the chagrin of Santo Agwek. Liberia will get a corner ball. This might be a chance to throw a cat amongst the pigeons for Liberia. Referee just sorting out some doing and froing between Santo Agwek and Favor Jensen. It's a flat ball by Akuno doing his job at the near post. It's not the most threatening of deliveries. So, handy turn from Kemo Tamba, but attempted floater over the top. Not fruitful. Next goal in this game, if it is to come, feels as though it's a pivotal one. South Sudan trying to chase it through Chol Chol. He's got the fast feet, but doesn't have clean passage in behind the Liberian backline. Cisse mops up his own scraps. Urging his players forward. This presents a breakaway for South Sudan. It's Akuno with space. Gets wide of one, now across to Tilmayom. And the play just fell dead. Seemed like a miscommunication really between Messrs. Chol, Agwek and Akuno. Akuno went one way, his two teammates went the other. Nothing really came of what was a 4-on-2. As they throw numbers forward, that counter-attacking threat, something that South Sudan will have to worry about, or Liberia even. As another free kick opportunity goes the way of South Sudan in a position of some promise, particularly considering the damage we saw Manny Agwek do in the first half from the dead ball. He had the penalty to open the scoring, and right before the halftime whistle, scored a brilliant free kick. Slightly further out than this one and on slightly a tighter angle. So you'd have to imagine that he would fancy his chances from a situation like this. Having said that, both Apai Akuno and touch ball remained in and around the area. Kuno's walked away, but all eyes on Agwek, who curls, but doesn't get the dip. Would have been fear in the heart of Hanks Guillermo, having already fallen at the hands of Amani Agwek. Free kick, he was nearly undone for a second time. Cisse, great cross into the middle. Babor Sam is there. And he might have got the faintest of contact. Nothing commanding, and Santo Agwek is able to claim it, launch it into the afternoon air. Chol has his pocket picked by Melvin Beckett. Not the best work from Joseph Sear, but it's been made to look good by his teammates. Nice interplay down the left. Beckett, miscue. Mayom, he's missed it as well. James Lackey streaming down the right. Wants to get a cut back into the area. Here's the chance for Cisse. It's a brilliant block from the South Sudan defence. Standing up to be counted. I believe it was Dennis Njiku who put his body in the way. He's already scored at that end. Nodding the ball, just poking the ball over the line. And now he's saved South Sudan from conceding the very same part. But here's a chance for Favor Jensen, but up comes the flag. South Sudan held their line perfectly. They were proven right by the linesman's decision. South Sudan continue to leave the door open for Liberia. Time slipping away for the would-be one of the comebacks in this competition. One goal could change it. Of course, this South Sudan side would know that very well, having played not long ago in the All Nations Cup in the final against Greece. They were down 3-0, but managed to make it a very nervy final 10, scoring 2 in a short space of time and very nearly springing a big surprise on Greece, who eventually did run out 3-2 winners. They've been able to cause a scare from 3-0 behind. Got to make sure they don't inflict one themselves when they're 3-0 up. Chol. Shifting away of Sear, but just ran out of real estate against the line. Here at Ralph Reserve, which continues to bring a high-class atmosphere. Babor Sam. So nice to watch when he gets up to full pace, and it's a perfectly placed pass as well for Lackey, who goes down. Perhaps under his own steam more than any influence from Dut Dayu. It's been a handy addition off the bench. James Lackey coming in for Ibrahim Kane. Dayu. Floats one without much in the way of menace. Akuno spins on the ball. Bowl runs across his body, and with the aid of a deflection, it threads through for Akuno. And the ball just took a bounce at an inopportune moment. And the cross in the end, nothing special. Liberia. Matthew Cisse, lovely chest and control. And the back heel, turning on the style. It's David for Liberia. Thwarted on that occasion. The break nearly on for Chol Chol. Again, forward come Liberia through James Lakai, but he's just lost out. Now Beckett inside for Babor Sam. Swiveling all the way around. Still looking for a passing option. It's Babor Sam. Now Cisse. He's been a real thorn in the side of that Sudanese back line. Eventually he's forced one into the referee's pocketbook. It's Dennis Wanjiku who goes into the book.
Oh.
So Liberia do get a free kick. It's a while out. Messes David and Beckett stand over it and have a little bit of a two-man negotiation as to what the best approach is. You'd imagine from this distance there'll be some sort of floated ball in behind for someone to latch onto, but Beckett has an eye for the spectacular. Melbourne Beckett does choose to scoop, and it's a miscommunication in the South Sudan back four. Fortunately for them, the double deflection came last off a Liberian attacker. Santo Agwek all too happy to take the resultant goal kick. Beckett. Sia loses out. This is a big chance for South Sudan. Chol just hesitates. It's given time for Beckett to get back. Between himself and the man he had in support, they were able to do something, but it's still alive momentarily for South Sudan. Mo Dwar, who's made his way onto the field of play. Cisse, the one-touch turn, he wanted the ball in behind, didn't get it, but still Liberia come forward. Favor Jensen. Lovely switch. Decent first touch. Still on the charge, Liberia. It's a good save from Santo Agwek. Thwarting the on-rushing James Lakai, who really has been a handful for Dutdeu on the right flank in his second half. Hasn't been called into action too many times. Down goes Agwek. And the free kick goes against the Avondale attacker. He hasn't been called into action too often today, Santo Agwek, but when he has come up big with a few important stops in the South Sudan net. Chol on the charge. Tried to poke it in behind for Manny Agwek, who is on hat-trick watch. Still they come. Paulino clips it across. And at the back post, the goal was gaping for Manny Agwek on a hat-trick. It would have been the sealer, and he could not convert. Continue. They do, Liberia, to remain alive just about. Although time, as much as the scoreline is starting to become their enemy. Only 15 minutes left in this game. Going to do it with passes like that. Lovely 1-2. It's the chance for Amodor to seal it. But the dinked effort, agonisingly, for South Sudan and their fan base, who were willing it home, is wayward. That has been the case time and again in this second half for South Sudan. They've had more than enough chances to kill the game. They and their fans will just be hoping that stuff like that doesn't come back to haunt them. And you wonder what the likes of Democratic Republic of Congo and Eritrea, the other two semi-finalists getting set to kick off at 5, might think of this wayward finishing display. It's still alive. Babor Sam checking inside one way, then the other. Now Sier! Liberia have the lifeline. 14 minutes plus stoppage to play. It's still an uphill battle. Liberia, having knocked in this second half, have finally given themselves a chance. The comeback trail finally clear for them to travel, and how fitting that it was Matthew Cisse who provided the finishing touch. He's been such a thorn in the side in this second half, and it was beautiful work from Babor Sam as well to make the chance happen. There wasn't a lot of celebration from Liberia, but one is enough to give them hope. As we see Eritrea are now coming out to do their warm-up. That's a sign for Liberia that they are running out of time. Quickly, and that's why they go direct. They won't get any closer to 3-all with a pass like that. Interesting moment of the game here for South Sudan. You'd think they're still home and dry, but their reputation in this comp is one of scares, and now Cisse gives a headache for Agwek, coming tooth and nail, hammer and tong to complete a comeback of Liberia. And Matthew Cisse has been so key to a lot of the good stuff they have done. Now Liberia have got a free kick. It's a bit closer than the previous one, from which Melvin Beckett decided simply to loft the ball, guide it into the penalty box. It is Beckett once again. Babor Sam and David for company. Beckett leaves it. Babor Sam, the chance arrives. He went for power. Tried to unleash a tracer bullet, but it was always offline. When you do go for power like that, you've got to get the placement perfect. It's not going to curl back if you haven't applied any spin on the ball. And indeed, it never looked like returning towards goal. Once it was wide, it was wide. That is sweet relief for Santo Agwek. You can't help but think he might be called into action one or two more times in this game. Akuno down the right. Across for Amo Dwar, who fires and seals it for South Sudan. They are going back to the final for the second time in a year. There's the Sioux. The fans love it because they know they're going to take another step on the road to their redemption. And it's the substitute, Amo Dwar, who puts the nail in the coffin, you'd think, for Liberia. at those scenes of celebration. That's what it means. He'll get a yellow card for removing the shirt, but I don't think he'll care. South Sudan are all but through to the African Nations Cup final. And off in the distance, warming up, Eritrea and DR Congo will be watching this display of dazzling attacking quality from one of the perennial powerhouses in the African Nations Cup. They are on notice. Liberia are breaking forward, not with any threat. They could feel the weight lift off the shoulders of South Sudan when that ball found the back of the net. It was a brilliant finish and a lovely exchange between Amador and Apaya Kuno. So Paulino goes down under the challenge of Vibor Sam, who gets a yellow card and is definitely treading a fine line, sarcastically cheering the referee as he brandishes said card. So Paulino all too happy to take his time on the turf, recover from his injury and really chew up some more valuable seconds. Andy Agwek is not nearly as patient. He's getting antsy. He is, of course, the scorer of 2 goals. A hat-trick would add icing on the cake for Manny Agwek, having steered his side already. An absolute shock of all shocks notwithstanding, through to the final. I think eventually there'll be a card dished out for time wasting, and this time it goes in the direction of number 13, Mangar. 20, Mangar. Manny Agwek not going to get his hat-trick because he will get an early rest ahead of tomorrow. And he leaves the field to a round of applause. The second goal for Liberia would make it interesting. Beckett, the 1-2 with McKay. All the way home for Santu Agwek, who lumps it in the Akuno direction. And the big man will win out. Wide for Chol Chol. Off the pass from Tiak Quell, who's made his way onto the field, I believe, in place of Manny Agwek. Mangar. Back to Wanjiku. Valuable seconds trickling down for South Sudan. Yashbal. Well, he hasn't been involved in any of the goal scoring, but he has been so key to this performance. Chol Chol hasn't gotten in on the act as yet where goal scoring is concerned. And that linesman's flag that you saw go up has been one of the big reasons why. Favour Jensen. A bit hot and heavy there. Babor Sam has played it forward for Lakai, who still has the ball at his feet, despite the defensive attention from South Sudanese players. Kamara, double coverage, couldn't find a breakthrough. Still in the turf is Favour Jensen. His head in his hands. Not sure whether it's the conditions or the fact that many of these players are in the off-season, only just returning to pre-season football. We have had a lot of injuries today. Fortunately, only one has prompted significant change. That was inside the first half for South Sudan. Abraham Mathed came off early. Luckily that didn't affect South Sudan all that much. You never want to lose your number 10, trying to find the back of the net, but subsequently that really hasn't been a problem for South Sudan. Does look like this is still a pretty big problem for Favour Jensen. Yach Bowl is calling for the stretcher. Indeed, it is coming out, and it's a sour end to what's been actually a pretty pleasing display for Favour Jensen. He's been one of the brightest, particularly in the first half, in that Liberian attack. Sadly, it's not going to finish in the right way for his side, and it doesn't look like it's going to finish in an altogether pleasant way for him personally. We do hope that he is okay and his injury is not as serious as it looks at the present moment. As the medical attention continue to try and help him onto the stretcher. Several Liberian players off to the right of the screen just crouched down, perhaps in knowledge of the reality that this game has slipped them by and the injury to Favour Jensen is but salt in an already open wound. A couple of final changes perhaps for Liberia. Joseph Sia has also come off the field of play. Into the attack comes Noah Samiminesh. More of a taller presence, is just boiled over on the far side between Babor Sam, I believe, Matua Dom, who's made his way onto the field and continuing to remonstrate. Yach Bowl having to supply some internal team discipline to keep him out of the referee's attention. So, two-man consolation team. Yach Bowl, 20 Mangar. Now we're back underway. Liberia, having had the injured player, give it back without much consequence to Santo Agwek, who's still takes the time to hit the turf and chew up a few extra seconds. Launch one forward. Hunting it down. Amo Dwar. Could there be a fifth to cap off this five-star South Sudan performance? From that drive, but Boar Sam's knocked it too far ahead. He was full stretch trying to hunt down his heavy touch. It's a sign in microcosm of how this day has gone for the Liberian team. This quest for African Nations Cup glory will be put to one side for another year. Of course, the final in 2021, closest they came when they were undone by Eritrea, who are the most decorated side in this tournament, and playing very shortly, in fact. I say at 5 p.m, but that's in 1 minute. We have had a lot of injury stoppage, so that game to come very soon. Lovely turn on a dime in the middle. Now for Boar Sam. Didn't quite skip round. Yatch Bowl composed as ever. The anchor in the midfield three. Perfectly weighted ball over the top for Amo Dwar, who has won a corner for his efforts. Seen them influence proceedings heavily, but the likes of Apaya Kuno, we believe, and Yatchbol as well, don't have a goal to their name. They will come forward anyway, South Sudan. It's a shallow clearance, and that's a speculator. It's fallen the way of Akuno. Forget how quick he is when he gets into his stride, but up comes the flag. Ball back with Liberia. Ball Sam. Left and down goes David, and it will be a free kick to Liberia. It's been good from South Sudan, but it hasn't quite been perfect, particularly in this second half. They've coughed up a few good chances to Liberia. Could have been a different situation. Free kick comes in, it's off the apex. Santo Egwek is happy. He thought it was sailing over. He completely misjudged it. It will not matter though. South Sudan have blasted their way through to the African Nations Cup final. They again will return for the second time in a year. The second time in successive tournaments they are back into the big dance. Another shot in what has been a long quest throughout the history of the African Nations Cup. to lift the coveted silverware. They took a 3-0 lead into the second half. And Liberia, to their credit, did press their case for getting back into the game. They coughed up, spurned a few good chances before Matthew Cisse did give them a lifeline and a hope of an almighty comeback. But it was a hope that was swiftly dashed by second half substitute Amo Dwar, who, after being played in beautifully by Apai Akuno, put a full stop in the game as a context and confirmed South Sudan's place once again in the final of this competition. They've been to this place before, and tomorrow at 5 p.m. here at Ralph Reserve, they will hope to go one better and finally lift the coveted African Nations Cup trophy. Who they will face in that final, though, a question that remains to be answered. Eritrea and Democratic Republic of Congo coming up very shortly, so do stick around on the FNR Football Nation Radio pages, as well as the Football Empowerment Facebook page. If you do want to catch that final, we'll be live streaming that one as well. But for now, we're going to take a brief break. Liberia's charge through the knockout stages comes to an end at the penultimate hurdle. And it is South Sudan with the chance to dream again tomorrow in the final. But for now, we will take a quick break, and we'll be back with another stream live coverage of the second semi-final between Democratic Republic of Congo and Eritrea to come shortly. But until